hear you.
All right, thank you so much. Good morning, friends. Welcome to the webinar today. Our webinar is going to be 30 minutes along with time at the end for Q&A. During the webinar, you can send your questions through the chat icon, which is located at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be answering your questions during the Q&A portion at the end of our webinar. We will be issuing PDH certificates for those attending the live session that have elected to receive them, and a copy of the presentation will be sent post-webinar. All of our webinars are available on demand at bartlettwest.com, and we will continue to add webinars and encourage you to check back often. Today, we're going to hear from Jim Renner and Vince Fry. Jim is Bartlett & West Design Build Manager, leveraging more than 35 years of construction experience, which includes serving as construction manager on municipal wastewater treatment plant projects and other public projects. Jim specializes in transforming visions into reality while keeping projects on time and on budget. Vince Fry is President and CEO of Downtown Topeka Incorporated and Senior Vice President of the Greater Topeka Partnership. DTI's mission is to encourage the growth of business, governmental services, and cultural entertainment in the heart of Topeka. Today, they will be discussing lessons learned from the Kansas Avenue Revitalization in downtown Topeka, Kansas. This project involved community partnership, alternative delivery methods, and public-private funding. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim and Vince.
Well, good morning. I'm Vince Fry. I'm pleased to present today with my good friend, Jim Renner. Downtown Topeka was once a thriving center of banking and finance, retail, dining, and entertainment. But like many downtowns back in the 80s, it started to deteriorate as malls were built and people moved to the suburbs. And with that, they took their shopping needs with them. Empty buildings became the norm in our downtown. And even though over 25,000 people worked downtown each day, by 5 p.m., they were all gone. While other communities were enhancing their core, Topeka languished. When I took this position in 2012 and walked the sidewalks throughout downtown, I was amazed at how they had deteriorated, as well as the curbs, the medians, and quite frankly, deferred maintenance had led to infrastructure that was over 75 years old, and they couldn't really support the needs of the remaining businesses. The community began to have doubts that they could ever successfully compete, and really our self-image was suffering. I've always said that a downtown represents a community's pride and prosperity. I doubt that most residents back then were very proud of our downtown. We are the state capital, where our downtown really should positively represent the entire state. In 2008, going back 12 years, thousands of Topeka citizens came together over several months to prioritize the needs of our community. A revitalized downtown was chosen as the top priority that was needed for the future success of the community. The goals from that group were to preserve our history, consolidate the community core, and instill a sense of place. Now, through the Chamber of Commerce, annual visits to cities that had successfully developed their downtowns were scheduled, which led to new ideas and buy-in. We have, over the years, gone to 14 different communities with successful downtowns and successfully developed riverfront areas.
Hi, again, my name is Jim Renner. I'm with Bartlett & West. So what does it take to move a grand vision such as this forward? Well, really, to garner consensus, you need to have collaboration. It's a must. This whole engagement started with a group of about 8 really interested community activists that looked at our downtown and said, you know, remember the history of downtown and how vibrant it's been in the past and what it's meant to the city in the past, and how important it is to have a good, strong downtown. And that's just not where we are right now. What do we need to do to bring that activity back to our downtown? So there was some energy started from this small group, and it was concurrent at the time that the community was beginning a visioning effort with Heartland Visioning that initiated community collaboration that demonstrated a lot of community interest in different ways to bring our community together and enhance the life in Topeka. And downtown Topeka was one of the biggest priorities of putting some attention to it and creating some community pride. And coincidentally, about the same time, there got to be a real youth movement. A lot of young people, including students from Washburn University, young professionals that had come to Topeka or continued to live in Topeka after graduating, and even some younger primary age students got involved and showed their interest. And out of that, a group called the Capital District Project really started to form and say, hey, we have interest in finding more things to do in Topeka and creating more activity for all people. So it's a great conversion of a lot of interest. But out of that, the city began to see the interest in wanting to help promote ways to engage the larger community and get some consensus building. So there's a move to create some workshops and bring urban planning experts into Topeka and get some input from them, let them hear some of our preferences and some of our dreams, and give guidance and help us kind of isolate some of our priorities that would lead us forward. We brought in urban planners from across the country, including Philip Walker, David Dixon, and Susan Harden, all notorious for their expertise in that arena. And it was a great experience. These workshops took place over about a 2-month period, and they would conclude by really summarizing the notes that they saw from having these workshops that brought hundreds of people together and did a lot of spitballing and putting things up on paper and drawing on tables and just getting a lot of ideas out from the community. Had broad community engagement. Like I said, tons of people were getting involved in it. And then out of this, it defined some community priorities that included providing activity space for the public, providing artwork and art, having creative design that makes things interesting, and probably most of all, that is pedestrian friendly, so it really encourages people's activity. So out of this, there was a lot of inertia that came out of the workshops, and the city took note and began to say, okay, let's take it to the next step. And they put out an RFP to get consultants involved to create a concept that would lead us into further design and development. So the RFP went through, there's a selection process and a consultant brought in. They continued to get more community input and took probably about a 6-month period to develop what they had vision for concepts. But it kind of missed the mark in the end. Some of the things that had been identified were important to the community was to reduce the width of Kansas Avenue to 2 lanes from 4. It was seen to be a really fast road, not really pedestrian friendly, and needing to reduce the lanes to slow things down a little bit. It was seen to widen the sidewalks would help with pedestrian activity, and that wasn't addressed in this concept. It appeared that there was a lot of listening, a lot of engagement taking place, but maybe not hearing the wishes of the community so well. And out of that, the completed concept development just didn't hit the mark, like I said, and it kind of stalled the project. So some people kind of got together and said, okay, what's it going to take to get things back on the rails and moving forward again? And it was determined that we really needed to get back to the basics and re-engage a lot of the people that were behind the project in the beginning and start to look at ways to bring it forward. And a lot of that is getting the people involved and then getting in front of the politicians, the public servants for Topeka, and getting their support. And that came along and was very successful.
Yeah, numerous plans were considered, and I can tell you that many, many meetings with the city council took place during this period of time before the city council in 2012 approved $5.8 million to improve the infrastructure on Kansas Avenue from 6th to 10th. Again, it was primarily an investment in infrastructure. And these included new water, gas, and sewer lines, widened sidewalks, as Jim mentioned, and mill and overlay of the avenue. And although many communities around Topeka and throughout the state had spent $100 million or more on revitalizing their downtown, we were very pleased by the council's vote, but the citizens wanted more than just the infrastructure improvements. Quite frankly, the city council did too, but just did not have enough money to continue beyond the infrastructure. So the Downtown Topeka Foundation, which is a 501c3 entity, established a committee which was consisting of many community leaders. And we created a campaign called Imagine Downtown. And we established a goal of $1.8 million to enhance the city's infrastructure project. And the funding that we were collecting was to include amenities such as pocket parks, pavilions, fountains, mid-block arches. We have bronze corner medallions on each corner and state symbols scattered up and down the avenue. And in addition, our goal was to tell the history of our community by creating life-size statues of famous Topeka citizens. And they were selected by a survey through the local newspaper. Over 3,000 votes were cast to decide who those would be. Well, the campaign goal of 1.8 million was exceeded considerably as we raised 4.4 million from the private sector. And a lot of the corporate giving came from companies such as Capital Federal, Evergy, Hill's Pet Nutrition, BNSF, Security Benefit, and Mars Chocolate. And they all have a strong need to be able to retain and to recruit a quality workforce. And they felt, just like we, that a vibrant downtown was essential to making that happen.
So all of this takes time, and we've described a little bit of the effort to try and get things moving forward. But if you look at this timeline, it demonstrates some of the major milestones from the inception to the current day. But looking at the council vote that you see near the just left of center that took place in 2013, you see that represents about 2/3 of the overall 8-year time frame that it took to complete the street improvements and private enhancements. So there's a lot of upfront work in just getting consensus in the community, being able to get the political support to move forward with things, and all the effort that goes into those. Several points along the timeline, the project was potentially derailed by a number of things, including lack of a cohesive progress in 2009. It was just kind of wavering out there trying to find its feet. Initial concept plan failed to integrate community priorities in 2011. So that was, had to regroup a little bit from that. And then we get into budget problems when both the city's infrastructure project and the private enhancements get designed and go out to bid. But success begets success. So the celebrated completion of the downtown improvements enabled the path to continue developing the downtown enhancements. And the downtown plaza could not have been made a reality if it were not for the community enthusiasm for the renewed focus on downtown. And the plaza is just the first of many more enhancements to come, I'm sure. So solutions for the scope and budget creep that we had to deal with. As I mentioned, the city's municipal city street and utility project had budget problems, but they were somewhat minor. They had a number of bids come in. The low bid was over budget, and they had to spend a couple of months of rescoping, decreasing some scope items that they were able to do without causing big changes to the project, and we're able to move forward with the project in just a couple of months after the bid. On the other hand, the private enhancements project had major challenges. The bids came in for what had been designed. Bids were accepted, but only one bid came in, and it was well over budget, almost twice what the budget allowed for. So there were some major problems. So the Downtown Topeka Foundation was trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? What do we need to do? And I have relationships with some of those folks on the foundation, so they came to me and asked for some suggestions on what they might do. So we discussed the traditional approach of, okay, let's look at this and reduce the scope, redesign everything. Hopefully the estimates work out in the reduced scope and you bid, and things will come in under budget. But you know, a lot of times that's not a reality, and all that process takes a lot of time, and it's difficult to feel confident about that. Not to mention, this project was really intended to be done in concert with the city's infrastructure project, so things really needed to be moving forward. They could always get additional financing from fundraising efforts. But as Vince mentioned, you know, there was a great deal of effort to go get the money that they had come up with. And there was a sense that the community, corporate leaders and such were pretty well tapped out at this point. It would not have been welcomed. So the third option would be to go to construction management approach and hire a construction manager to first validate the budget or the cost of the scope based on the one bid that came in, and then come up with solutions working with the foundation to ensure that the desired scope is met and fell within the budget. They liked that idea, and following that suggestion, they came to me and Bartlett and West to be the construction manager. So we moved forward with value engineering with collaboration from the donor companies and the foundation, and used a cost plus guaranteed maximum price kind of contract that allowed us to have open book finance or funding and cost control. And it was really collaborative. It was a great solution for budget management. We needed to identify substantial reduction costs, obviously those. So some of the things were, for big chunks, were identified, such as the mid-block arches had been designed for all 4 blocks of the downtown. We suggested removing 2 of those or eliminating 2 of those and saving some money, and that was well received. A lot of the materials that had been designed for the pocket parks were high architectural finish, such as cut limestone, and we suggested using alternatives of architectural concrete, colored concrete, to give a similar effect, but not be that high cost. And we had to eliminate some fountains. There were a number of additional fountains that had been designed in, and these were much higher costs than what folks were expecting in the beginning. So the rescoping was kind of pulled together, and we needed to address each of these with each of the corporate donors. So there's a lot of work to do with that. And then in the end, the priority was to keep all the businesses open downtown. The city's project for the infrastructure work was already dealing with that, but it was really enhanced with the work that we were needing to do with the private enhancements. So the conclusion out of all this effort was that, you know, this kind of project is a high-risk project. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lack of definition in a lot of ways. Takes continuous coordination with third parties, including the business operations of the tenants and businesses on the street, as well as the contractor working on the city's infrastructure project. This is really well suited and almost necessary to use an alternative delivery, such as we did with construction management.
Well, as you saw in a previous picture, Kansas Avenue was pretty torn up, and naturally there was concern for disruption of business. So in order to generate traffic to support the businesses during the construction, my organization created 35 annual events to bring people downtown. And in addition, I had hoped that people would get excited about the redevelopment project as they saw and realized that downtown can be fun. The events that we created included weekly brown bag concerts. We had concerts, second Saturday concerts, 5K runs. We have a very successful car show that surrounds the state capitol, tours of lofts, a touch a truck event, and we have a jazz, a rock, and a country concert, and then we pair with dozens of food trucks, which draw as many as 15,000 people, and these concerts are all free. We have over 100,000 people attend these events annually, and naturally, it takes considerable number of volunteers as well as sponsors to make these free events happen. The major attraction right now, and kind of the culmination of the entire redevelopment project, is the recently completed Evergy Plaza. And over $9 million was raised through transient guest taxes and private funds to create a community gathering space right in the middle of downtown. The plaza includes a performance stage, a 30-foot video board, fire pit, shade pavilions, ice skating in the winter, and the Crossroads Fountain, which is a spectacular water show that's synchronized to music and multicolor lights. In addition, the Topeka Lodging Association created a tourism improvement district and assessed themselves $1 per room night. And that money has gone to pay the architecture fees, as well as will go towards partial use for the maintenance of the plaza. And so that has been significant to the funding of the plaza. So today we have events on the plaza like concerts, we have yoga, fountain shows, movies, and these have really lent themselves well to social distancing over the last several months. Local investors during this period of time have purchased more than 30 buildings along Kansas Avenue, which have been restored into restaurants, hotels, retail, and lofts. Last year, we had a market study completed that shows that over the next 10 years, downtown could support another 900 new or rehabbed housing units, 300,000 square feet of new or rehabbed office space, and nearly 700,000 square feet of retail space, as well as another 200 to 300 more hotel rooms. Downtown has been designated as an opportunity zone. We've created a tax increment finance district, and we've also established 3 historic districts offering historic tax credits. We are also close to finalizing, along with the city of Topeka, a master plan for the next 20 years for the development of downtown. While downtown Topeka is definitely a success story, we are focused on continuous improvement and continued support of our downtown partners, and particularly during the pandemic. And I think that the last 6 or 7 months have been a real testament to our city's fortitude, resilience, and commitment to downtown. One of our goals initially was to make downtown a destination at night and on weekends. And now those days and evenings are full of cars, and oftentimes it's hard to find a parking place downtown. This project truly is a great example of a public and private partnership coming together to make things happen. And as the citizens prioritized in 2008 during the visioning process, we've been able to deliver exactly what the citizens wanted with a revitalized downtown.
We may have lost audio. It looks like maybe you are muted. So I think at this point, we will open it up for questions. We would ask that you send your questions through the chat icon. And as we wait a couple of moments for questions to come in, I do want to thank you for sharing your time with us today. And thank you to Jim and Vince for sharing your expertise with us. As a reminder, a recording will be available on our website at bartlettwest.com. We do encourage you to connect with us directly. Vince's contact information as well as Jim is included on the slide there. We'll wait just a few moments for questions to come in. I'm not seeing anything at this moment. Again, we do want to thank you for sharing your time with us today. So we'll go on and conclude our webinar for today. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks, everyone. Actually, hold on, I have a question. Oh, could we get a copy of the slides? Yes, Bob, we will be sending those post-webinar. So those will be coming within the next, I think, 24 to 48 hours. And it will also include a link to the recording as well. So we'll be sharing those with you soon.